Hey, it's Craig Tomlin with Useful Usability again, and with me today is a special guest. Alejandro is the founder and CEO of Userlytics, and he is with us today to chat about his background. He's going to talk about Userlytics, and he's also going to share with us some of the cool things that they have been doing with their tool, as well as give us his perspective in terms of UX and where it's going. So with that, let's dive right in. So Alejandro, thank you for joining us. And what's your background? Where did you go to school, and what subjects interested you?
Multifaceted. Nuclear engineer, born and worked and studied in the US, as well as in Europe and also in Japan. Um, have been involved in the telecom industry, in the nuclear power industry, where I did a lot of testing, and in the internet industry. Um, an entrepreneur, I've founded and sold various companies, some of which very successfully, some of which were more learning experiences. And throughout my entire career, the importance of the user experience has been crucial, which eventually led me to found Userlytics.
So how did you get into the UX field?
I was running an internet company I'd founded, social media type of thing, and we were having some difficulty with traction, principally because of the user experience. So we started looking around to see if we could find a platform that, in a scalable and relatively inexpensive manner, allow us to test the UI in an iterative basis throughout the product design and development flow. Couldn't really find anything that did what we wanted to do, where we would see the screen, the face of the participant, be able to get both qualitative and quantitative data. So at a certain point, we said, why don't we do this ourselves? And basically change the whole purpose of that original internet venture into what is now Userlytics.
What is it about UX that you find most rewarding or most enjoyable?
The serendipity of observing participants in their own home without any distractions, no other people, in a real life situation, interacting with your prototype or live asset. The serendipity of discovering things about the experience of your asset, of your company's products that you just would not imagine. So that leads you in new directions, new ways of designing things, and I think that's just a lot of fun.
So you're the founder and CEO of Userlytics. What is Userlytics, and why did you found the company?
Userlytics because we looked for a Userlytics and we could not find it. And what Userlytics is a platform that allows you to, in a scalable fashion, look over the shoulders of participants anywhere in the world as they're interacting with your existing asset, your designs and prototypes, no matter what stage they're in, competitor assets, and actually see the participant and really understand, okay, is that my target persona? Looking at their context, the kind of living room or study or bedroom or wherever they are located, understanding a lot more about that person, saying, yes, that is my target persona or not. And then viewing how they interact with the asset in question. Userlytics provides both qualitative and quantitative data, but crucially, it allows testing to be done on a scalable fashion, i.e., one UX researcher can launch tens, hundreds, thousands of participant sessions and manage them collectively. But at the same time, it's a heavy amount of qualitative feedback, and it can be personalized to the specific actions and responses of each participant. So it kind of brings unmoderated usability testing closer to the advantages of moderated usability testing without losing the advantages of unmoderated.
How does Userlytics help your customers? What problems does it help solve for them?
Our mission has always been to change and to allow our clients to change the way user testing and usability testing is conducted. Historically, because of the complexity, cost, logistics involved, it was done infrequently, maybe at the end of the product development process, almost more as a validation rather than as a learning exercise. Um, or it was done in a non-scalable fashion where, yeah, you did some moderated testing, maybe on location or maybe remotely, but there's only so many hours in the day for each UX researcher, for each UX designer. So there's only so many participant sessions that you could complete. So what we set out to do was to bring the cost down and the complexity down of user testing, to allow it to be done in a scalable fashion where one UX designer, one UX researcher could do it with tens, with hundreds, with thousands of participants, and not to lose at the same time the ability to personalize the test script, the instructions, to each participant depending upon their actions and their responses during the test. In other words, to make it as close as possible to the advantages of moderated usability testing.
There's quite a few online UX research tools out there. What is it about Userlytics that makes it unique?
From the beginning, one of the key differentiators was that we decided not just to provide a basic level of qualitative data, such as the screen recording or screen recording with audio, but a high level of qualitative data, the kind that you can get if you had a participant beside you in your office, in your lab, through recording a combination of the webcam, the screen, the audio, collecting quantitative data. So this was one clear differentiation of us from the very beginning. A second one was that we decided early on we would not do usability testing with professional testers. We think there can be value to that, but we decided we were going to focus on real people who are doing this on an occasional basis, maybe once a quarter or something like that, not people who are doing 10s or 20 of this per day. And we think those are two different value sets, and both can provide value, but we chose that one. And then the third element is branching logic, the ability to personalize the test script depending upon the actions and the responses of each participant, to try to bring unmoderated user testing closer to the advantages of moderated user testing without losing the scalability that is implicit and inherent in unmoderated user testing.
So you've recently added some new functions and features to Userlytics. Can you talk about what they are and how they can be used to make UX teams more successful?
We've added branching logic, so you can have each test script personalized to the actions and responses, success, failure, single choice questions, rating questions, etc. You can design it in many different ways, but you can create highly sophisticated conditional logic type test scripts. Just now we're adding multi-language capabilities so that you can test with participants in their native language. And we're about to launch in the next 6 to 8 weeks an extension on Chrome, which will allow a much more simple onboarding process for participants.
How does Userlytics help in the Agile UX world, and how does it help the Agile UX designers?
Great question. Agile UX is all about integrating into the Agile and sprint-led process user experience design. And Agile UX testing is all about doing testing on an iterative basis following each sprint. And that's something that we set out to achieve with our platform, to help clients change the whole mindset of UX research to, rather than just being a discovery process at the beginning and a validation at the end, to have a continual user input into the design and development process.
In the past few years, have you noticed any changes in terms of your clients' budgets? And if there has been changes, what are the implications to UX?
Yes, in fact, we have. We've seen budgets and resources in terms of number of staff go from 1 to 20. It's quite amazing how rapidly now, in the past 24 months, large companies who used to pay lip service to the user experience and its importance, but had not put the resources necessary behind it, how quickly that is changing. The implications are all of these large companies need a different type of process. It has to be much more scalable because the executives that are putting those resources in those departments are expecting metrics. They're expecting lots of user experience testing, for example, to be done with lots of different assets. And that requires scalable platforms.
So what's coming in the near future for Userlytics? What's on your roadmap?
We want to continue along the road we've already started to undertake in the sense of adding much more quantitative data to the qualitative data we've always provided. We want to make the onboarding process for participants as easy as doing a survey. And in fact, we're rolling out a new product that's going to come very close to that objective through a Chrome extension in the next few weeks. We're starting to expand the internationalization of Userlytics. We've always had clients overseas, but now we're expanding into multi-language capabilities, and we'll be partnering with a number of companies around the world to quickly ramp up our user experience testing capability in all these different languages and regions.
So let's look farther out. What do you see in the UX field in the next few years? What do you think the next big thing is, and how do you think that may impact us?
I think one of the most interesting developments that is going to affect the field of user experience and user experience design and testing is the field of augmented reality, as well as virtual reality, but especially augmented reality. In that sense, user experience, in our view, has always had two components, or two even philosophies, if you will, passive and active. Passive in the sense, let's be invisible to the user. Let's have it so the user doesn't even notice there's a user interface for them to achieve their objectives. And active, a philosophy of let's be present, but in such a way that the participant feels a joy and a thrill out of using that user interface. Well, we think that augmented reality is going to, in the second of these philosophies and ways of looking at user experience, going to really change the kinds of things that you can do to affect the user experience. And so we're very keen to see how this will play out.
And what about you? So in the next 2 or 3 years, what are things that interest you? What would you like to focus on?
Well, that's a great question with many answers to it. But I would say that one of my passions has always been how can we use technology to connect people in urban and first world countries who have extra time and want to give to underprivileged children in third world countries, especially in rural settings, by volunteering a bit of their time. So it's impractical for people to travel and spend 6 months of their time in some remote location, but everybody's able to donate an hour or two of their time. So if we could connect teachers in first world countries to teachers as well as students in rural settings in third world countries through a kind of crowd-sourced volunteering basis, that's been an objective of mine for many years. And finally, the technological elements to do that, sustainable solar power, wireless communication, and a bunch of learning management platforms are coming into play. And one of my ambitions is to, as a nonprofit initiative of Userlytics, is to offer our platform to help in that initiative. So that's something that I would love to move forward with.
Well, Alejandro, I want to thank you for your time. Userlytics, definitely a very cool tool that I think people should check out, and some of the new functions and features sound very, very interesting. And thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.